Okay, great. So we're missing a handful of people that we thought would be here, but we're good enough to get started, I think. Do we have a quorum?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6. Yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. So let's call the meeting to order at 6:05, and that's a little late. Sorry. There was a lot of technology to deal with today. And then let's just jump right, if we don't mind, maybe we should just jump right ahead to our Timberlands multi-trail partnership, because we have a lot of people here for that. And so, for Helen, we have people visiting today in person. So if you could say your names to Helen for the minutes, that'd be great.
Hold on, so I can get them down. Ready.
Meredith McFarland.
Yep.
Kenneth Johnson.
Okay.
Porter Knight.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much. So, does anyone from the public have anything they want to say that's not on the agenda? Didn't think so. Okay, great. Cool. Then we'll just move right ahead to that business A, so you don't have to listen to the minutes and stuff parts. That'll be great. So let's move to old business, to Timberlands multi-trail partnership. We're going to have some kind of a presentation discussion, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right, so
By the way, your speed dial was still a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just because we're starting late. It's in my head now.
It's just built that way.
All right. Do you want me to share one of those documents?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll work on that while you start.
Sure. So everybody's familiar with the Hogback Mountain, and that A. Johnson is the owner of that property. It's about 2,000 acres. There's access to up there. A lot of people hike up there to the top, to the ledges, to look over Bristol. There's the water tower up there. And
on the other side, on the former Mary's side, a lot of access over there too.
yep, there's actually right across from Killerman's, that's what it's called now, is there's parking. So that whole area for recreation has always been kind of like a want. And with the help of Samantha and Chris Morrissey from Cool Motion Outdoor Sports, Seth Beck from the Mob, which is Mountain Bike Bristol, same with Tim Steele, who's Five Town Riders and also part of Mountain Bike Bristol, which is part of Addison County Bike Club, which is under the umbrella of Vermont Mountain Bike Association. And we have Porter here, who is Bristol Trail Networks, Bristol Rec Club, and I also am Bristol Rec Club, Mob, Five Town Riders, and Bristol Rec Department. And then of course Ken here, who is Ken Johnson. So. So we've met in October and really got the ball rolling, and with the discussion of being able to have multi-trail accessibility on Hogback. And that's pretty multi-use. Yeah. And that's hiking, biking, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, hunting, sugaring, still doing some logging up there. So it's a very busy area, and we want to be able to have it accessible to all users, which is pretty cool. And challenging. There are obviously some places in that area that we can't build on because of the way the mountain is. And the ability to, way down the line, parking is, something to be considered. But the real reason why we're here for the Bristol Conservation Commission is because if we present when we're doing grant writing or just getting more of the town involved of what we are seeing as a vision, having this group alongside us just creates a stronger community. You have a lot of folks who, are conservationists. You've got Helen, who loves the pollinator gardens. We've got a couple of people who just go up there for the sites as well. So having the Bristol Conservation Committee on board with us, just like I said, it just makes us stronger. So what we have here is just the introductions of the group and an ask of, would you like to be involved? And then from there, you'll have questions. We might not have the answers, but those questions will be able to find answers, because if you've got questions, then somebody in the community has questions.
And I'll add 17 seconds worth. Maybe.
Yes.
I promised my father before he died that I would preserve access to the Ledges Trail. That was very important to him. He thought that having the public access that was just really cool, and he believed in public access. He really, he very strongly believed that we were lucky to be timberland owners, and having other people use that timberland was an honor in a way. So this is, well, we dissolved the lumber mill. We lost a ton of money and had to stop. So this is my way of trying to honor my father's memory and my family's memory. So when I'm gone, perhaps there's the Andrew Johnson something recreational trails, or the Johnson family recreational trails, whatever the heck it is, on Hogback. Challenging as it is to try to serve all those purposes, and yet with a little bit of, maybe just leave a little lingering taste of the Johnson family in town when I'm long gone and nobody remembers who I was.
A legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to perhaps leave a legacy.
Especially that plot of property. I mean, it's Bristol.
It is.
Mhm.
I mean, I look at it from when I'm over at Mount Ellen at Sugar Bush. I mean, it's amazing to see that. So as you can see, the group
Yeah.
is creating this are the landowners, people who are part of the town who have hiking, biking. So it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
To get into a little bit of more, sorry, I took some notes here. So with this property, one of the key things is, and to go along with the legacy, is to do parking with kiosks and educational stations so people understand what the property is about. The legacy, what kind of trees you find there, what kind of planting zones are there, wildlife. So that all that part, that's an educational aspect of it.
And we'll still log and are gonna see that. And it's just
Right.
A little bit of
Yeah,
education on behalf of the.
right, right,
Yep.
yeah, and talking about, how we can have this usage.
25 years ago, we logged here and look at this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, well, there's some zones that there's still gonna be some sugaring.
Oh,
And
sure.
with that, those
It's paid for
folks,
itself somehow.
yeah, those folks are, I believe they're just asking if they can put up their equipment and then work with us on figuring out trail systems. Which is cool.
Would they
'cause
need to drive up there then? So would that be,
the sugars?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
need access.
okay,
But for us, that creates a walking path,
Mhm.
a mountain bike path,
Mhm.
and then in the winters, a great snowshoeing and a cross-country trail.
And puts some pressure on Conservation Commission, bike clubs, et cetera, so to educate the public so that they have respect for the
yeah,
sugars.
for the working forest, yeah.
Yeah, I only sugared for 3 years, and that is a lot of work.
It's exhausting.
I was
Can
like,
can one of you clarify specifically the boundaries of this land that you're talking about? I mean,
Did you,
Map.
did you send us a map? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Give
I'm
me the
not
map.
seeing it on screen.
it's not on the screen. I'm
So
sh-
the first thing
I don't know
that,
where that is, I'm looking. You can start talking, I'll try to
Okay.
find it.
so we
Just
do
a
have a
minute.
map, it's map 1, and it's just kind of an example trail system vision. And when you all see it, you'll see that there's a multi-use trail. There's a hiking outline, a machine-built mountain bike, a hand-built mountain bike, and parking. Now, this is all based on.
Meredith, can you just backtrack? I don't have the map, so I don't know.
Yeah. Helen, we're working on it, just give me a minute. Here.
So
Can you see
the
it now?
details she's describing are irrelevant until I know the acreage that we're talking about?
Okay, there, can you see it now?
I'll give you a moment to take a look at that.
Part of the plan, I don't know, I guess it's probably not more than 30 or 40. The area where that first section. of
Oh. Yeah.
But this would be around that whole mountain.
Well, in the long term, yes, but this is maybe it's 100 acres or something, but this is a start.
Right, we're doing it in phases.
But to your question, Helen, we don't have the exact acreage answer, but we are, as you can see on this map, like the larger vision is ultimately for most of Hogback that is adjacent to Bristol.
But the long-term goal would be to utilize a fair chunk of the 2,000 acres while leaving some room for timber harvesting, which is gonna raise hell with trails once in a while. And for the sugar, so that the whole property can be an educational piece.
Mhm. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
some of the
cool.
trails, it'll rotate, like this
That's so
trail
cool.
section is closed due to logging, and then there'll be an
Yeah.
educational part about it.
I think that's awesome.
The
Helen, you had
current-
another question? She had another question.
The current trail to the ledges or to Bristol Cliffs looks like it starts at number 1 and goes to 3 and then maybe 4 and 2. Is
So
that,
if I can clarify, Helen, the trail, what people call the trail to the ledges was never really built as a trail. It's what we call a social path. So a social path is something that starts to evolve when people walk and start to make a path. So this map does not.
It's been a skid road at one time.
Yeah, it might have connected a skid row or a couple of different skid rows. This map doesn't have that on it explicitly, but you're right. Can you see on there the number at the very bottom of it?
Like the 7
Yeah.
here?
So that number 7 towards the bottom is roughly, I can't really see from here, it's too far, but can you see Meredith?
Yeah, so 7 is like the turn in the mountain.
Is the Ledges Trail on there?
The Ledges Trail
It would
is
start with
barely
that
on there,
little,
it's
I think
hiking.
that little house icon maybe is where it starts.
Certainly one of the goals for this is to improve the Ledges Trail so that it's more easily maintained and is readily accessible as much of the year as possible. It'll always be there.
Mhm.
And in fact, Helen, we're probably going to close that trail in the very near future and do a lot of education around it because it's very badly in need of restoration work, and there is going to be some logging in that area soon. And after the logging, we will rebuild that trail, so it'll be a much better and more sustainably built trail. So the trail specifications that we use now are quite different than they were historically, and as I said, that trail was never built as a hiking trail per se. And so we'll want to reroute it and build it in such a way that it'll be much more sustainable and better for the ecosystem and reducing erosion in that area. But there will always be a trail to the ledges, and there will be additional hiking trails as well.
And to add to that, there will be no mountain bike trails up to the top of the ledges.
okay, I'm really just asking because if you're going to be presenting this to the public to get their opinions on this project, we need some perspective. Where is the gate? Where is the water tower? Where is Bristol Cliffs? Where are the ledges? That's all I'm asking is.
Thank you, Helen. Those are great questions, and we're making notes now, and that will really help us as we go forward. Because we're at the really very early stages here, and so those are super questions. I really appreciate that.
And it's gonna be a public process. We're not just gonna helicopter in and say, hey, this is what we're doing. It's gonna take time to pull it all together and get more public input and make it a community project.
It looks like the trail that would be to the south of the number 7 would cross other parcels privately owned. Have you shared this plan with those private landowners?
I believe it's above it.
There's one private landowner, I think, has been approached, but that's still very early in the process.
But Kristen, I think the bulk of that trail that you're seeing around the bottom is sort of above the other landowners. before it comes down.
Okay. And therefore wholly on Johnson property?
That's primarily our goal.
Yes.
Okay. And also, what consideration have you made for the rare, threatened, and endangered species that are on this parcel?
Right, the peregrine falcons, right?
Peregrine falcons in particular? And also, this is a wildlife
Nature
corridor.
Conservancy owns that property, we have nothing to do.
Yeah, so the peregrine falcon nesting is Nature Conservancy land, so
Yep.
that is a protected parcel at the top.
Yeah.
And so we have not put any plan into that because we would not be addressing that trail. But we would be happy to work with the Nature Conservancy if they, like, my experience as a user of hogback is that that is poorly marked and absolutely not in any way supported or enforced as a don't go there during nesting season.
Mhm.
And I have asked the Nature Conservancy in the past if they could add the signage farther down to the more main trail so that people don't walk up, because you don't see the don't go here sign until you're practically there. And I got nothing, but we are really hoping for this to be an educational, well, we're committed to this being an educational resource area. And so, yeah, I think that adding signage there and more education, and also maybe some ways, if there's any ideas people have to actively discourage people from ignoring the signs, rather than what sometimes happens now.
I literally talked to your interns about that today.
Oh, thank you. But we did actually, when our group met last fall at our first sort of like larger group meeting with the rec department, the rec club, and Johnson and Mountain Bike Bristol. That was actually the very first thing on the little slideshow that we had for each other, talking about, like, as we came as stakeholders, like what matters to us. Ecology and preservation of ecosystem was a big one. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at the development of trails as being sort of zoned, so that we can be really thoughtful about having certain types of uses in places where it makes sense, and then not having those uses in other places. So one of the beauties of doing this as a collaboration is that we can be very thoughtful about how we proceed. And that's why we want to have input from you.
Yeah.
And can you also explain the difference between a machine-built mountain, I guess, MTB and a hand-built MTB?
Yeah, so machine built is a small excavator that comes through and creates a trail that's about 5 feet wide.
And benefits are
Yeah.
reasons why do it and why not? Why do you do one?
Yeah, so the machine built trail also does create some bermed turns. So bank turns that you ride through. So it's elevated corners.
Makes it more fun.
Kind of similar to what you see behind Jill Koppel's farm there, is that true?
Oh, Newly, yep,
Newly?
exactly. If you've walked up there, that is half
Yeah.
machine built and half hand built.
Why do you do hand? Just machine.
So the difference between hand built, machine built is sometimes you just can't get a machine in a certain spot, and you have to use shovels and rakes. Also, it's just easier if it's a sensitive zone, then you're more likely to use shovels and rakes.
Maybe budget.
And budget, yeah. It's expensive to run those machines.
But they're faster.
When I was asking about where is the trail to the ledges on this map, I think it was, I don't know who it was that was saying, I want to let you know that no trail bikes will be used on that trail. But how are bikes getting to number 6 or to the mountain trails that are on this map if they're not accessing it via a current?
Yeah, so In the lower left-hand corner, there's a key, and the blue, the multi-use trail. You can see that, for instance, number 1, that is where BES is, to give you a reference point.
Yeah.
Number 4 is at Tillerman's, and those are multi-use trails. So that would be acceptable for mountain bikes to use. Then what you'll see is for mountain biking, you'll see the straight line, and those are gonna be over at number 6, number 4, and number 2, and those are your flowy trails. The soil's a lot better for machine work in that area. Then you'll see the dashes for the hand-built trail, and that is near number 5.
But for a bike to get to the hand-built trail on number 5, they're going to go on the multi-use trail that's around number 3.
That is one, and number 1 is a location to enter that too. Now,
Are there
number 1
any
is,
trails that are only accessible to hikers?
Yeah, there's in the key, there's.
So, well, she can't speak here now, but yeah, the black lines, like by 5 down the middle, would all be hiking only.
yeah, if you see 5, and then next to the wording Timberlands,
Yep.
that solid black line is hiking only.
It doesn't show up as well on the Zoom, but on the actual map we have, that little black line is highlighted yellow. So thank you again, because that's a question that's gonna make it, we need to make that map more visibly accessible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How do you keep bikes off of it?
Signage, knowledge, education.
Okay, but you're not physically keeping them off, right? They could still.
Well,
Nope.
you can also use
Right.
bollards, it's like they have at the watershed, to keep larger vehicles out.
Oh,
You
sure.
can do rocks in different arrangements
Oh,
that
sure.
humans can navigate, but
Mhm.
wheels can't.
Got
So
it.
there are options.
If it's like a problem, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think we would
Yeah.
actually want to do that because one of our goals in having the Ledges Trail rebuilt is to make it sustainable for a very long period of time. And so, yeah, protecting it means more, it's savings in the long run, so it's not just about the trail trout and ecology.
And there's gonna be a lot of time and energy put into education,
Mhm.
just constant.
So I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, and maybe this will be my last question about the trail to the ledges and where that is on this map. Almost everyone I know who spends time on the hogback are hikers. And those are going to be the people you're going to try to sell this project to, that having bikers here is not going to detract from your hiking experience. How are you going to address that?
Well, first, the horse is dead.
We're not building the trails for horses, I say saddle as an equestrian. I think Helen, our only answer is signage and trail design. So right now, that's all we got is signage and trail design. And the trail will be a massive improvement as to what it is now. And it will not be built to appeal to mountain bikers. And also there will be trails designed for bikers, which will be very exciting and interesting and appealing to them. So the bikers will want to go to the trails that are designed for them, which are, is that the red dot ones, Meredith?
Yep.
Which will be fun. They will use the multi-use path to get from one bike section to another, but the hiking paths will be less attractive. And so we will use education and signage and trail design like features like boulders and whatever to try to keep the bikes out of that. And then we will rely on the goodwill of our neighbors and community to support and politely discourage or reprimand people who breach etiquette.
It's partly also gonna be about creating a biking culture. Fostering a biking and hiking and recreation culture and growing that in town, so it becomes, hopefully it'd be a little bit of shame involved, and someone would be ashamed for
Can I throw an idea?
breaking the biking culture.
Yeah.
Wrecking the ecology.
Yeah, Roger, one
Yeah.
sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger, what do you have?
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about like the multi-use, right? So you enter one, I'm a bike rider, I bike up. It seems like to me the actual lookout is number 3. So if we're talking about, hey, we have some signage at that like little gray dotted line, it would also maybe make sense to throw just a small bike rack there, right? That says like park your bike here,
Oh, I
lock it
love
up,
it.
go walk
Yes.
out, look at the ledges, come on back, grab your bike and go to wherever you want to go. So it's not
Indeed.
just shame and intimidation. It's also like, hey, we're here for you, we're looking out for you, lock your bike up and go walk.
Yeah,
That's an excellent
That's-
idea. The ledges actually are more like here. Can you see my cursor on the map?
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
So it's not as far out. That number 3 is much farther north, out at the very, very edge of the village.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
But
Yeah, so
still-
in terms of like public engagement, right, just put the word ledges on the
Yeah.
map for the future.
Very
right?
good,
Yeah.
very nice.
It's becoming
Much
obvious,
better.
yeah.
And honestly, yeah, what Roger said, I mean, right where the multi-trail and the hiking trail meets, bike rack,
right.
Mhm.
love it, education station.
Communication station to a kiosk, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
One other question, the multi-use trail passes eastward from the number 7 and connects to Route 116. To do that, it's going to cross Baldwin Creek. What provisions have you made for that crossing? How do you propose to make that crossing?
Mm.
Are you asking about 7 that we can see on the screen now?
Yeah, so let me
Seven.
here, let me do it with the
I think
cursor
what
here.
she's talking
Yeah, with the
Yeah, I
cursor
think this, right here, I'm moving the cursor, there's water here, which I believe, Kristen,
is Baldwin Creek.
goes across right here, and the
So-
blue
Where's
hiking
your
multi-use
cursor?
path, right here. This,
Can't see a thing.
Can't see a thing. You're farther up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking- She's
Yeah.
asking about 7 way down there. You
I
don't.
know.
Yeah, but I think-
Yeah, so
I think
just
she's
wait, just
talking
wait, wait, just
about-
wait, just wait. Here, let me see, ready?
I'm too
So we,
old.
What
right
I-
here.
I see some
See
blue.
this right around the edge here?
Yes.
That is Baldwin Creek, and right now the blue multi-use trail is crossing that to get to 116.
Yes.
Ergo, Kristen's worried about some kind of a bridge. How are you gonna get
Yeah.
across there?
Like, or how do you propose to cross there?
Yeah. The
The
big
middle
bridge!
bridge,
Yes,
the
the
big
big bridge, people! We can
Joel-
finally use
Joel
the
Blueberry
big
would be
bridge.
so happy. I'm glad that we have the magic bridge sitting at Peter's gravel pit, but
The
I
bridge?
actually.
Yeah, from middle.
I don't know that that
I
would,
don't
we have to make
think
sure it's.
that's all that right. I
It is,
feel
yeah.
like,
Yeah. And I've got
that
something at the mill
crossing
that might go
was
too. It's about
designed to
70
be
feet long.
basically right
You can
across
cut it
from
in
Cool
two,
Motion Outdoor
35
Sports in
feet.
Rockydale.
Guys,
Not
people,
farther out.
Yeah, we
if there's
can't hear
more
a thing.
if there's more than one person talking, we cannot follow the conversation.
Thank you, sorry. Okay, I was saying, I love the idea that we have this great bridge sitting at Peaker's gravel pit that maybe we could use, but I actually, again, I'm not clear on this map, but I think we were talking about having that crossing be much farther south on 116 in Rockydale, kind of right across from, Cool Motion Outdoor Sports.
Yeah.
And so it would not on that north side or that west side of 116 be crossing the Baldwin Creek, because the creek crosses 116 farther up. So let me just
Yeah, yeah.
quickly scroll out here again.
Yeah. Doesn't Baldwin Creek join the New Haven
How
though?
do I
It
slide this?
does.
Yeah, so you
But
would
it does, but it's
fundamentally
on,
have
then the New
to.
Haven goes to the other side.
Yeah, it's, so the New Haven's on one
Okay,
side and
let me-
that trail comes right out at Cool Motion Outdoor Sports.
Right, so the creek
Mhm.
crosses
That's-
way up here.
I think when we drew the blue, we just drew it a little long.
Right. We might have, but anyway, and also. So let's just say, for our purposes of discussion today, our intention is not to cross the creek at that, period down there. But rather simply to create a way for the community to use a multi-purpose trail from town to that section of Rockydale. And we are, of course, leaving open the question of safe road crossing, et cetera, et cetera. And this is very early in the conversation, but there.
But that's also kind of why we're here, to invite you into the conversation. Because things that you've already brought up this evening has been remarkable.
Yeah, so.
I guess I have a similar question about the northernmost parking area, which is accessed from Route 116 across a tributary that flows north to the Lewis Creek watershed, I believe, in that spot. I could be wrong.
Near number 2?
Near number 2, just to the east of number 2, that multi-use path.
Container causeway?
Isn't there already a bridge that's?
There's a path. If it's where I remember, you don't cross a river. There's a road. It's like there's water on either side, but there's a road in. If it's where I think it is.
Okay, so the
Above Compton's a little bit you're talking about? Yeah, we built a road across there.
Okay, so the multi-use trail would use that existing road.
Yep.
Okay.
So am I right in understanding with the map that up 116, the topmost little orange block is, you said north of Compton?
Yeah.
And
Can
then,
you blow that up a little, the upper part?
well, before you blow it up, so the top
Okay.
one is sort of north up by Compton. The middle one on the right, where the 4 road comes in, is sort of across from Tillerman.
Tillerman's, yep.
And then the lower one, we were imagining coming out right in the center of Rockydale.
Yes.
So that's sort of what we were imagining. Again, this is very early stages. These are just thought sketches, but that's sort of what we were trying to do in terms of creating the community of that space.
What about that one that's in town? Where's that at?
The one,
Across
Oh,
from the,
that's across from
the
the school.
elementary school.
that's already the parcel of, goes right down across from the school, and that's where the students have that outdoor classroom.
Right, so the Watershed Center owns a parcel right next to that blue line, where the outdoor classroom space is, and then Johnson has the parcel next to it, which is where we drew the line.
Sorry, I meant more for the parking, because we were talking about the parking stuff. Like, is that little orange rectangle?
Oh, the orange rectangle there
Shaw's
is
parking lot?
Shaw's.
Yeah.
It's Shaw's, okay.
That's like the behind the Shaw's parking lot, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it always feels weird parking there. Like,
Mhm.
you know, is it that, speaking of signage, like that might be a nice education, like, because I know there's signage up that road saying, hey, don't park here. And then you drive around, you're like, okay, well, where do you want me at? You know, and then you're kind of, am I taking up Shaw's parking or not?
Yeah, thank you. Great point. And Pomerleau has been pretty generous about that. I'm sure they'd be willing to let us have a education station there as well, because they're trying to promote their community perspective that way. And we are also, actively interested and pursuing conversations with other landowners on the eastern side of the village, on the western side of Hogback there, so that there might be, we would hope, down the road, additional parking options for recreational access to this Johnson multi-use area. So, but we're not putting anything on a map because we don't have any commitments from landowners there, but it's something we're very interested in. So if you know landowners, or you're thinking, hey, this would be a really great space for parking access to get up there, definitely let us know.
So what are you thinking in terms of, you said you wanted, like what deliverable would you like from us today? And then sort of going forward, what's your plan? Thinking about applying for grants, what about maintenance and long-term?
Yeah, so
What's
those
your
are
vision
things that
there?
we're still working on, tightening it up, figuring out who's going to steward the space. Maybe there's 1 year, the Bristol Rec takes care of the Bristol Rec department, and then it goes to, it's still open on the table. There's a BCC does an event up there that's a trail day. Or a hiking,
I'm thinking
day.
more long-term, like,
our
maybe,
immediate
I'm
ask
thinking,
is
yeah, what's
for the Conservation Commission to say, this is our fantasy come true, this is what we'd love to see. And then with your basic generic support, that lets us add you as a stakeholder, which is important to us at 2 levels, really multiple levels, but the 2 immediate levels are that we have your attention so that you can provide the necessary input that we need, just like you did tonight. So that's really important for this group, because you have knowledge and resource that we don't have. The second thing that lets us do is, as we are going forward to grants, because the first grants we're looking for are going to be from designers, And as part of the designer process, we want to have community public meetings and engage input. So community members are going to say, did you talk to Conservation Commission? And we're going to say, yes, we did. And they're here at the table with us. The grantors want to say, are you including the stakeholders in the community who are interested in conservation and ecology? And we'll say, yes, they're here at the table with us. So we want that to be an integral part of the public engagement moving forward, so that we don't create a trail system and then have somebody be like, you're screwing the whatever up. Like, we want to get that right before we build. So the first grant process is for design, and that'll be public input as part of the design, public input after the design, and then we'll be looking for building moving forward.
Okay, so in terms of where we're at as the commission, then how do we feel about this opportunity, this project? What are your thoughts?
I am all on board. I love it.
Yeah, that's like mountain biking right outside your back door.
That's why I was like, I had to look up where that number 2 parking is, and that's where I know where it is. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea. I think the only concern, kind of what we just talked about, is the maintenance is like, it's a large area and lot for us if it gets like all put on the commission to maintain.
Yeah, there's
I haven't heard that yet this evening.
So that's, so I think that's the only thing. But I think it's a great idea.
Nancy, that's a really great point. And we are, as I said, really at the very, very beginning stages of this. So I'm going to share with you an idea that I have that is not something that this stakeholder group has talked about necessarily. But when I created the Bristol Trail Network, one of the early things I did was create an endowment fund at the Vermont Community Foundation. So my goal as a volunteer on the Bristol Rec Club board was to create a trail, but I didn't want future rec club boards to ever be in a position where they're like, oh, we don't have the money, we can't maintain that. And what if the rec club disappears? I don't want the town to abandon the trail. And so I approached community members in Bristol and said, I have this vision of long-term maintenance of the trail. Will you join me in making a contribution to a fund at the Vermont Community Foundation? So there's a fund at the Vermont Community Foundation, which is the Bristol Trail Network Fund, that has now about $100,000 in it and growing. And so hopefully by the time I leave the rec club board, it'll be a couple $100,000. And the income of that fund will be available for future maintenance of the trail. And that's the type of conservation opportunity that is available that we can look into as a group over the development of this project. Is how do we create sustainable protection of this space in perpetuity so that it doesn't end up saddling the town of Bristol taxpayers or users of the site, or prohibit the future owner of the site, whoever it is, from being able to maintain this as a long-term Johnson multi-use recreation. So those are options we'll look at. Jim has his hand up.
Jim?
I have a question for Kristen. Under your bylaws, is the Conservation Commission supposed to just concentrate on town-owned property?
Correct. Yes, thank you, Jim.
That's something to consider in this whole operation.
Thank
It's a good
you. Yes,
idea,
Jim.
but make sure you
The
cover all
town
bases.
plan, the town plan also has one of the major goals of the 2020 town plan is for us to identify scenic properties and to help maintain those around town as well. So I'm sure that would fall under there as well for the town plan.
You can support us without.
And we generally support recreational activities. I honestly have reservations about this plan, considering that this particular parcel is of very high conservation value to the region. And there are significant rare, threatened, and endangered species on the parcel. And so I would be, and yet I acknowledge that it is a privately held parcel, and Johnson Company can do as they choose with this parcel, as long as it meets all applicable laws and so forth. I would hope that the Bristol Conservation Commission would be invited as a stakeholder, regardless of whether we individually, the members support or don't support the project. I think we are a stakeholder in the sense that we represent the town as a conservation commission, and as Carolyn just said, we do have a stake in recreational activities in the town and conservation activities in the town.
And you have to also consider a liability. You know, is the Conservation Commission in the town of Bristol gonna have any liability with anybody that gets injured, say, or has a problem on the trails? You know, like you, I agree with what you said, Kristen. The hiking trail is a great idea, but now if you introduce the biking things, you can open that up to a lot of problems. So I would hope you guys would cover all bases on that. Other than that, it would be a good idea.
Just to interject, I commend Ken and his family for the foresight of the value of what this means to the community and arguably the region. For Porter and Meredith for helping out, sort of broadening the vision of what it could mean for the hikers, bikers, and other users. There's cross-country skiing mentioned, snowshoeing, and so on. My view on the Bristol Conservation Commission's role here is really what the request, I think, is that we are being asked to maybe not fully endorse at this point, but that we are interested and that we can be involved in helping to provide feedback as this plan develops further. I think it's very early stages, and I think being invited to participate is we should be honored for having that chance to contribute, because just as you saw already with the idea of the bike rack being a point of depositing the bikes when you go off to the ledges, and just ideas like that. The more eyes and heads that you wrap around this, the better outcome you're going to end up having for sure. So I think from my perspective, yes, the Conservation Commission certainly has an interest in understanding more about this, and hopefully we can participate and be helpful with providing feedback along the way.
Yeah,
I would just say that Jono expressed my opinion much more eloquently than
I would just like to take a moment and point out some of the things we've been tasked with by the Planning Commission as part of the 2020 town plan. The next town plan will come out in 2028. And here are some of the things that have been tasked specifically to the Conservation Commission: to identify significant public scenic resources, maintain existing public facilities and outdoor spaces to encourage social and leisure time activities among town residents, to strive to maintain and improve public access to New Haven River, Baldwin Creek, and Bristol Pond, to develop management plan to minimize the introduction of invasive species into Bristol's natural communities and town properties, to develop education and outreach materials for landowners about rare, threatened, and endangered species, to work with endangered towns, local groups, state agencies, to talk to landowners about low environmental impact biking and hiking trails that promote access to natural resource areas, evaluate opportunities to conserve lands with high natural resource value, especially those adjacent to town-owned or already conserved properties, develop initial individual management plans, and consider river corridor conservation and protection to decrease flood erosion, et cetera. So I just want to put that in perspective. Those are the things that we've been asked to do by the town, and a lot of those actually dovetail with the parts of this project that we talked about today.
I think also that last one that you mentioned about with the water, we had David in, I think in November, talking about the Seth Hill property and how those trails were built specifically to, maintain a healthy water flow essentially, and avoid erosion. So I was interested in, as y'all are talking about like the machine trails and the hand trails and stuff, and just the different types of construction used to do that can, help in the conservation of the land.
Yeah, certainly the conversation we're going to have shortly is very eye-opening and I think important to this conversation about how to best create trails that are multi-use and who has right-of-ways in different situations. And I think that that's really important to think about too. If there's gonna be trails for sugaring, what does that trail look like compared to a different kind of trail? And that's something we have to think about very carefully. So we've learned recently that that's a thing, and we need to think about that, I think.
That page that you just pulled up on the screen, Carolyn, if that could be disseminated and maybe noted, Helen.
You have it, you just didn't keep it, but I'll send it again.
It's
You
come up
all
multiple
got it.
times over the course of the years.
ago.
It's just a matter of a review, since it covers a pretty broad scope of all of those things that are under our purview.
Yeah. Yes, I can resend that.
Thank you.
Send it to us too.
Yeah. Okay, great. So how do we feel? Are we good to move on? Do we want to say anything, any last thoughts before we move on with our agenda today?
Just thank you for,
Yeah, thank you for
Being a
coming
part
to
of
talk
this.
to about this.
Very
Yeah,
exciting.
this is a lot to take in all at once, honestly.
Big undertaking.
Yeah,
well, I
Yeah, it's
sent
really
you the
exciting.
RFP, so you can share.
I can share
everybody
that
can
with
just-
the
yeah.
committee. Okay, commission, I'll send that out.
And knowing it's just a draft.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
highlighted draft.
Just at the very beginning.
Okay, that sounds
Long
great.
process, years.
Are there like action items or next steps from our side that we need to do or be aware of?
If you guys could take a look at what you'll see and send us any feedback, that would help us a lot.
Maybe we could talk about this in our next meeting and then we could send you a list of things, or you could come, we could, for
So-
homework, we could read through what
Are
you
we
sent
still
us.
hoping to issue the RFP next week?
Yes.
So,
on our-
but it doesn't mean anything's done. Issuing the RFP is just about inviting designers to start to get us those estimates. So feedback from you will absolutely be valuable in strengthening how we move forward. So you can use this draft RFP to see sort of where we're headed and where we're starting to describe things, knowing that, it's all still fluid.
Okay, so if we we'd like, sometimes we assign like homework tasks for ourselves. So if we had the homework of reading over the documents that were sent to me today and then making comments on those, and we would talk about those on March 13th. Would that be something that would be useful to you if
Yes,
we receive
and
those
there-
comments on the
Do
13th?
you want them to
Oh,
send
send
those
it to Sam.
directly to
Morrissey.
Sam Morrissey? So can you make sure that Caroline has that?
Make sure I know who that is. So on the 13th, we should send, on March 13th, after our meeting, we
You
should send
said you're
comments.
gonna- You said, yeah, if you want.
Our next meeting is the
Everybody
13th,
read it,
that's all.
think about it,
Okay.
talk about it, and then send things to Sam. That would be super.
Okay. And then copy you on that too.
Yeah, I mean, she's the holder of,
When are y'all closing the submissions for RFPs? Like, how long is that going to be open for?
the proposals actually will be due March 14th if this goes out as scheduled. So, but that's okay. I mean,
Okay.
again, it doesn't matter, like, they'll be coming to us with their proposals.
Mhm.
And then we'll, see what we
Yeah.
have for funding to
Okay.
hire designers and, grants, et cetera.
Is that something that you're open to sharing with us, the submissions?
Yeah, I would think so.
Public process
Well, it's not necessarily, but it could be.
for these folks at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
I think I think we would include you on this.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that would probably be
Makes
super
sense.
helpful if
Yeah.
the Conservation Commission wanted to help us review the proposals. I mean, I don't feel like I could speak.
I think that'd
Could
be
we-
fun, personally. I mean, I've done a lot of RFP work in the past, so
Anytime soon.
kind of nerdy.
Is that
but
something we would do in an executive session then? So that it wouldn't affect, bidding or something?
Why don't we do this?
Right.
Why don't we go back to the group that's organizing this and say, we think it would be useful and important for Conservation Commission input in review of the RFP proposals. And then over the next month, like you'll read it and have your input. Our group will meet again, we'll get the proposal, and then we can talk to you, and you guys might decide, let's delegate so-and-so from Conservation Commission to provide feedback, or we would all like to see all of the proposals, like, you know, we can, but I think that the point, Roger, is an excellent one, that it would be really, really valuable for us to have Conservation Commission review of those RFPs. So exactly what that looks like and how, I don't know, but I think we could definitely make that happen, it seems.
It doesn't feel like too many cooks at the moment.
But yeah,
Good time. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. This was amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad you
Thank
came to
you.
speak to us today about this. This is
Thank
really
you.
fantastic.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I just
Thank
have a short closing comment. Ken, you may have already thought this through, but I can just imagine, 50, 100 years from now, people say, oh, well, we'd like to widen the trail. Oh, we'd like to do this, or we'd like to do that. There might be some thought to the restrictions which you feel are very important, so it doesn't go in a direction that starts to be Disneyland. And I put that in quotes, being joking and facetious, but things can happen over time where the original intent gets, quite distorted.
Well, thankfully, that way I'll be dead and it will be my daughter's problem.
All right. So you've got a succession plan of management there. Okay, great.
She's gonna inherit all of it, yep. So she's a biker, so I think you're a pretty good man.
Great.
But I agree, there's, part of the process is how to protect it for the long term and keep it the type of resource that we like. Absolutely.
fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing, we're gonna talk to Max from the college, who's gonna talk to us about what we're gonna try to get a feedback on what we should talk about with the planning commission meeting. Is there anything you wanna talk about next?
Okay,
What do you wanna talk about?
nothing, just that EDA
That
stuff.
shouldn't take too long. We can talk about that. Can we do Max now and then maybe 10 minutes later? You can do, I don't think we need Max for that long, but he's been waiting. And I told him we could do him half an hour ago. Hi, okay, so we have a student from, a graduate from Middlebury College here with that wildlife corridor project. We have so we're moving on to old business B. Sorry, I had no idea that was gonna take as long as it did. I had no concept of what they wanted to put on the agenda. We thought it would be 30 minutes. It was not 30 minutes. I apologize for that. Wow, a lot to take in today. So the next item agenda is the wildlife corridor project. We're going to be talking to the planning commission on February 18th. That is on Tuesday. And what I'd like to do is have a conversation. Max is one of the students that ran that project. He's going to be, Max is going to be giving a presentation to the planning commission, right? For about 20 minutes. And then after that 20 minutes, we want to have two things happen. We want the planning commission to ask us questions that we and Max and Alexis Mikhailo will be there. And I believe Alex Smith will come. Is his plan? It was his plan. Is it still his plan?
I'll remind him.
Good, remind him it's his plan. And then we can all answer questions about things. I also then want to have time where we can talk to them and ask them our questions, like what do they want from us next, things like that. So for this time, for the next, I don't know, 10 minutes, I want to talk about the goals of that meeting. I'd like Max to speak a little bit about these things. And I also want to get a list of what we would like to get out of that meeting is what is our goal that we can use that's actionable, what do we want from the planning commission? Okay, there you go. That's my plan for this agenda item. Max, how are you feeling about the presentation and your take on this? I know you care about the project a lot.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all again. It's been a while. So I think for this presentation, the plan right now is for it to basically just be a condensed version of what myself and the other 4 students gave to you guys last spring. I think focusing in more on some of the like spatial analysis results and camera trapping results as opposed to some of the educational outreach stuff that we did, and really focusing in on providing the information on where these wildlife corridors are, where it's important to prioritize conservation for the Planning Commission's purposes. I think, yeah, and then maybe going a little bit into some of the suggestions we gave to you guys about kind of what ongoing development could or should look like in order to effectively conserve these high priority corridor areas. But obviously I want to make sure that I am centering what the commission wants to be presented in these suggestions, and so would love any feedback about things that you guys would like to see included. I know it's been a while since I gave the presentation to you guys, so if you need a refresher on anything, happy to go through that as well.
Well, it seems like what the biggest thing that we need in the future is collaboration between the planning commission and the conservation commission, right? It's still like, we are completely separate entities, which does not make it so that we can have any say or any help. Like, we can't be helpful when it comes to where things should happen in the town and letting them know the information that we have. So like, it's been so great to collect all this information, and it does feel like the next step is to continue to collect, information on where we need to be conserving in Bristol, but also to then like start up conversations and ask for a seat at the table.
Hey, there's a vacancy, so. You want to sit at the table, you can have it.
Well, it feels like the whole conservation commission, like our, like our point is to like,
Yes,
be
my
the
list of
lookout for the land.
questions right now is, what can we create, research, or present to them to help improve the town plan? How can we best incorporate wildlife into our plans?
Mhm.
How can we have future collaboration on this topic and other topics?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any ideas or visions of how that conversation might go? Things we should make sure we say, things they think we should be aware of? Just want to get some feedback, since that'll be this Tuesday. I'm not even sure what time. I know the meeting begins at 7, but I haven't got an agenda yet.
Are there like maps with lines of corridors and things like that?
Kind of. That's one of the reasons. That's the impetus for this project, is that those were created around 2000, and so we're trying to recreate and make better versions of those for the town plan for 2028.
Yeah.
But we have a few years still, so we've just done a lot of these big projects. We have time to say, what do we have, and now to bring them in to say, what do they need to do something with all this data that we've created, and like, what would they like in what format? What kinds of information do they want? What would be useful and meaningful to them, right? Going forward, I think is the hope.
Carolyn, I liked the questions that you just listed. I think this is first meeting. We're just starting to share this information, and like you say, we have some time going forward, and we just want a little more guidance or direction as to how we can best invest our time and efforts to get them products that would be useful for informing planning and zoning.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so make sure. Yeah, hold on.
I think our hope is that the planning commission will care where wildlife seems to be concentrated and take that into consideration as they're approving projects and proposals that are presented to them. Is that true? So somehow making that explicit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the plan will be, we'll start out with Max doing the 20-minute explanation of where we're at with all these projects. There's been 7 student projects total, I think, at this point, over the last 2 or so years. So and then I think it's just nice to say, instead of going to them and saying, we're thinking about these things, it's saying, we've already done this work. Now what is the next step that you would find most useful? And to have that conversation and let them ask us questions as well and sort of see where that conversation goes. Anyone who wants to come is invited to come. If you email me and let me know you plan to, I can once I get an agenda, I can forward that and make sure everyone has it. So you can show up if you would like to. But that's the basic plan. So make sure we're all on the same page. We feel good about that? Anything else I wants to say on that topic? Just because we're running out of time. Otherwise, I'd, sit on it, but we do have a lot to do today.
Really quickly, as far as like the research that's already been done goes and like increased collaboration between the Planning Commission and the Conservation Commission, and we can talk about this more, Carolyn, but I'm happy to incorporate like my experience as a student into that, and that there are other students who want to engage with this kind of work on a local level and a really tangible level where, the research they're doing has a direct impact, or go, talking to local conservation commissions.
Right.
And so that even though that research has already been done and there is a lot of stuff there, that this is not something that just kind of ends with, after this meeting too. So I can imagine that being a concern for like future decision making.
Right. Well, even just that there's this sort of free work source that we can have students that can do more research projects over the next, couple of years leading up to the town plan. That we have a pipeline to get students that we can mentor, that we can work with, they can do projects. We have a plan, right? We've got Alex is excited to tramp around the woods, right? We've got a system, so.
And there's
just knowing.
so much more information to get.
Yes.
I mean, like, it's a big town.
So yeah, helping them understand that, we've done so much and we want to do more, but we want to do more with their guidance.
Yeah.
Okay, we feel good about that. Thank you. And then Max, we'll figure out time to meet soon.
Yes.
I'll probably forget immediately though, because this meeting is getting out of control. So can you email me? Thank you. Okay, cool. Well, that sounds great. If you think of questions or if you want to go, but you realize you can't go, please email me if you have like a statement or a question that you would like to be part of that conversation. That'd be fantastic. Great. Okay, I'm going to move on if that's okay with everyone.
Can
Fantastic.
we move backwards and get the minutes approved from January?
Yeah, that sounds great. Porter is also still waiting here to talk about something. So we can do that though.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Great. Zaylee would like to make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. All those in favor of approving the minutes from January 9th? Okay, the
Aye.
minutes pass. The only correspondence is a letter from something about a river for Kristen. It's that, what is that group you're in? It's the river thing. Whatever. There's a letter for you in our mailbox for your river thing. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Vermont River, is it Vermont River Conservancy maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
That's in our mailbox. And then we approved that. That was our correspondence. New business annual report. I think that was in error. I don't think we actually have new business. That's an annual report. That's from last month, but no one caught it. Oops. The next thing should be item C with a parks update, but I feel like Porter doesn't want to listen to that. So she might want to listen to that. Okay, let's do a parks update sans Aiden, which means we'll go faster than usual, except we do have that Seth Hill item in there as well. So let's talk parks. Who wants to talk about a park? Let's save Seth Hill for last. Who wants to talk about a park that's not Seth Hill?
Haven't been to any.
Anything to talk about? This is usually what Aiden does, I know.
Yeah, no, he's actually going to them in the winter.
I know.
We need to prune apple trees soon. It's February,
That's right.
so within the next month or so. I'm happy to meet anyone out there.
I can lead that charge, as has happened in the past. I know Nancy was there one year. Helen and I have done it at least 2 years. I can plan on sending out an email to the group and see how people want to consider. Offhand, any dates that do not work or times?
I'll have to get childcare because Rory will try to run to the river. So I'll just, but
The river's quite a
so, yeah.
distance from the little mini orchard
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But I understand it, right?
Not gonna appreciate me being up a tree. So, if you guys pick
You'll
a
be
date,
on the
I'll
ground.
try
You'll be on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, maybe on a ladder. Yeah, okay.
But I'll try to figure it out. I'll either come and try to help in whatever way I can, or I'll get childcare.
All right.
I'll
Wonderful.
try to wrangle my mom.
Yep, thank you for remembering that. I'm looking at the annual plan right now, and we have the apples in February, hopefully. And then in March, we have Sycamore Park apple tree pruning, do it now or earlier. So there you have it. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Good remembering that.
Probably worth waiting until the snow's gone just for ease, since we're not in a
Yeah.
hurry,
But sometime in March, right? So
Mhm.
soon.
or less snow, less than the 13
Mhm.
inches coming.
Yeah, a warmer day, and yeah, if I mean, I'm very happy the snow is here, but
Mhm.
yeah, we can lean towards March. The way the 10-day forecast looks right now is for some still quite colder weather remaining.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nothing on Eagle, nothing on Memorial that we need to talk
I got
about?
nothing on those. Anyone? Okay, great. Then we can talk about Seth Hill if you'd like. Kristen, you were the one who put this on our homework assignment. Would you like to sort of take that off? You're muted though. If you're
Thank you.
speaking.
Yeah. So I did watch all of the select board meeting from the 16th of December on the topic, and here are my main takeaways. One is that if we had a Seth Hill management plan, it would be helpful to guide uses and activities at the property and to be able to support community decision-making around these kinds of issues that come up. And so I will take on that task of writing a Seth Hill management plan.
Thank you.
And that we can all feed into. And I think that would have been helpful maybe to navigate the situation as it emerged. Also that a field,
Is there
sorry?
any chance David Brin already has something that might look like that?
Well, what I mean is that it's a good question. There is a management plan for the property in terms of how shall this forest be managed, right? And that's a requirement of enrolling those lands in current use to get the tax abatement from the state. My thought would be that we don't have and could have a town management plan for the property that would address maybe the forest, but more importantly, this is a town property. Just like all of our other management plans for town parks, right? Like, what are the goals and objectives for conservation? What are the goals and objectives for accessibility, for recreation? Who's in charge of managing the parcel? So it just lays out how this parcel even came to be and the history and so forth. So as I draw up that plan, I certainly will refer to and incorporate the existing plan from David as like an appendix and so forth.
So this is an attempt to get the horse in front of the cart. Because right now, we were presented with a cart before the horses, and I'll just speak for myself, it threw me for a loop of the things that we were being asked to comment and form opinions on. It was already done and no one had ever told us anything. And now they're saying, hey, Conservation Commission might have something to say about this. So I think having a management plan a year ago or 2 years ago would have been really helpful, but we didn't even know that that was necessary.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
I agree.
So Kristen, you were saying your summative thoughts about the issue. So that was one of them.
Oh,
What else did you wanna say?
yeah. Another was something we've already talked about, which was we should have a field trip there in the spring or summer just to better understand what's there. And give a context for this discussion and the issues. And then the select board meeting ended with a vote that to approve the lease for the maple taps, which in that meeting they said Don Gale can either choose or to accept or not that lease, and I presume that he accepted the lease and continued to manage the sugar bush even this very month. But there was they did not add specific language in the agreement, the lease agreement, to address the trail maintenance and access. And in my view, and I'm not a lawyer, is that means that the town of Bristol is still on the hook to maintain the drainage structures that were just put in place by Vermont Family Forests per the contract with Addison County Regional Planning Commission, who is serving as the clean water service provider. And therefore, if there are changes to the drainage structures that were just put in order to accommodate access for maple sugaring, and any of those changes degrade the functioning of the drainage structures that were put in, then the town would be on the hook to repair those or fix those, is my understanding, because there was no clause added to the lease agreement specifically regarding maintenance of the trail. And so I guess maybe in my view, that is what Valerie was saying, is like, is there a role for the Conservation Commission? Like maybe the Conservation Reserve Fund would be available to continue to maintain those trails going forward and to meet the 10-year service agreement for the work that was just done.
Wow.
I had a little bit different take on that. I did watch the select board video, and a big point was that the work that had been done through the grant in coordination with the required Forest Service
AMP, yeah.
yeah, aspects of putting in these water bars, and I'll call them swales. But basically, it's just to control the water as it's coming down a pretty steep grade. That is expected to hold up for 10 years. And so if that's the case, it didn't seem that the town was going to be obligated to maintain that. In fact, Don Gale, as a user who is the maple sugarer and primarily uses that to access non-Bristol property to get to the forest, national forest property that he has 4,500 taps on versus the 800 taps or so that he has on the Bristol property. His concern was just that he felt it's kind of unmanageable to access that road safely now and so on. However, the conclusion I got from the meeting was that if he wanted to put in some long timbers in there, that would not disrupt the Forest Service's work that's in place, and it would allow the water to drain through, but it would create less of the humping swale that he has to do to navigate that. So it seemed that kind of was the compromise that was struck, and that it would be incumbent upon Don to somewhat maintain that. And he's already taken some down trees that were there to sort of block access while some seeding happened, and that those cut up timbers he put in the sort of the lower side of the water bars. So it kind of further the logs that were put in there slows that water down as another impediment to the speed of the water. So anyway, for the most part, I think our role still, it seemed to me, Kristen, is if we could put together a management plan, that would be wonderful. I don't think it should involve any monies from the fund from the Conservation Commission at this stage. It wasn't even mentioned that I could recall. And that basically, there was there was the potential for people that were disgruntled snowshoers, cross-country skiers possibly, but mountain bikers would generally be fairly happy because it didn't seem to bother them. It actually maybe gave them a little bit better access. But I think it's still in a stage where they're just figuring this out, maybe after the first sugaring season, and a little bit more of kind of figuring out who's taking on what responsibilities up there. That was my take, Chris.
Thanks, John.
I have a question. Do we know, it has the select board and Don, the guy that owns the Sugar Bush, and David Bryn, who put in the erosion thing, have they had any communication? Like, have they all talked?
Yeah, that was the
They-
Okay,
select
they all
board
kind of
meeting.
know what's
Yeah.
going on in each. Okay,
Yes.
because I watched the select board and it wasn't clear if they'd all communicated together what each had done.
There was definitely communication, but there was some, from one party perceived to the other party, a little bit of some breakdown in communication, but they were all there at the select board meeting,
Yeah.
kind of trying
Okay.
to iron it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and my only thought, the use of the Bristol Conservation Reserve Fund came up in an email chain from Valerie saying, like, does the Conservation Commission want to become involved? Do you have money in this fund that could be addressing some of these features, the erosion control features and maintaining them? And I do, yes, the structures have been designed to last for 10 years, but whatever Don does to make access more easy might degrade those structures and shorten their lifespan. And I think that's what Valerie was saying. Could the Bristol Conservation Commission come in, step in, and use Bristol Conservation Reserve funds dollars to help somehow partially redesign the trail system?
Yeah. I feel like, this, something that Valerie had only looped us into after that grant was already applied for and received. We just got an email that said, congratulations, this grant was approved. We asked to speak with some of the people involved, and they said, oh, we're too busy, we'll talk to you in fall. And we were only then looped in after it happened, after the work had happened. So I do feel like there's been a real strange way to deal with this. And I think that, we were not approached at the appropriate times, right? Like you said, the cart before the horse sort of thing. So maybe, hopefully the town can figure this out. I don't know that we're involved because they chose not to involve us. And I think that having a management plan going forward can be really helpful for all the town properties to make sure that we don't have these sorts of problems, that we are approached in the correct process, right?
Well put.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's just, it's sort of a retroactive, that we're just trying to work through this. And that's just the way it
Retroactively
happened.
throwing it to us is a little bit
Yeah.
a little bit unfair feeling, because we were not asked for all those planning processes, even though we tried to ask to be. So I don't really know what we're supposed to do about it now.
I felt like we were just being made aware of it. I don't feel like we were actually asked to be fully actively involved. And I think Kristen's right. It wasn't mentioned that I recall in the actual video, but there was a long email thread, and I kind of skimmed through that, and I do think that was probably brought up. And so these are, they're questions, but they were sort of broad-based questions, not specific questions.
Right.
That
I
were,
would just also, Jenna, I'd like to say that same email chain, right, after our last meeting in January, I replied to that and said what we said we would say. That was basically, we don't know anything about this and we don't know what's going on and we weren't part of this conversation. And we have not been pulled into that conversation since. It's been a month and no one has pulled us back into that conversation. So I don't think anyone's waiting on us to weigh in. I think it's
not at all.
It's a tricky situation. It's unfortunate that this happened. No one knows how to proceed. I don't think we're being held accountable specifically to help. I think they were hoping we'd have an idea. We don't have any ideas either. So I think that's just the best we're going to do right now with this tricky situation.
Yeah.
Except maybe to schedule a spring visit or summer visit to the.
Yeah, and we'd already
site.
have that on our plan, our annual plan is to
Yeah.
do a spring visit to the site and ask some questions and see it for the first time. We have literally never, as a commission, been invited to, we have never seen it. We only found out it existed when Randy did that search of town properties a few years ago, right? So it's all sort of news to us at this point.
Yeah.
All right, thank you all for that. If we could please move on, if you're okay with that, to move on to accessible design for town parks. Porter Knight is still sitting here waiting patiently to talk about that. And so I think Kristen had sent out a document from to Boyne King, I think it was, asking for comments. Would you like to take that conversation, Kristen?
Sure.
If you
Yeah.
sent out homework, you're on the hook to lead it.
Right? So yeah, Dan Malik had circulated to all of us their final report as well as a set of plans. And so they are waiting for us to feed back to them if we have reactions or thoughts or things that we'd like to see. So I'm happy to compile any feedback that you all have and send it to Dan in an email tomorrow.
Do you
I
want
had
us to
some
email you
observation.
feedback or would you like to talk about it? Sorry to interrupt.
It's up to the group. If there's some burning issues that folks want to discuss, then we can do that, or I'm just happy to receive your comments by email, make sure that Dan gets them.
Okay, thoughts? Anyone want to say anything about the plan and or any large comments?
I definitely had some observations. We could go through it one park at a time. Does that seem reasonable?
Yep,
Uh,
that's fine. I just want to make
so-
sure we all appreciate that we are definitely not leaving at 7:30 tonight, and I am sorry for that. I'm doing my best. We have a big meeting here, though. Awesome, Jenna. Which
Well,
which
but-
you
but
look at? Are you
wait,
looking
a
at the
lot-
draft?
It seems to me a lot of feedback has already been provided when they did their last presentation, and then Dan sent a summary and Jono provided feedback by email. So given the time, I wonder if we can talk about the feedback that's new, that wasn't in the original email that Jono sent a month ago.
I don't know if people, I think that's a good point, Helen. I don't know if people had a chance to take a look at some of the maps in this most recent version, but there was some concern about the idea of an asphalt walkway. And then now I see, I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly, but bituminous concrete.
By
And
2 minutes,
so,
yeah.
yeah, so I don't know how that varies dramatically. So that's one concern. In some cases, the parking spaces, there's quite a bit for Memorial if you consider that back road. And so I kind of feel like that might be a little overdone. And that could be maybe done in phases if it was determined that that was needed. But to spec them in right now, I feel like that's a little bit much. I figured out what that ladder symbol is. I think that's the bike rack, but it's not in the legend. So yeah, those are things I can give as feedback. But primarily, I would say it's the parking.
Jenna, don't we need parking Memorial to be on both sides of Baldwin Creek, though, for people that don't want to walk along Route 17?
Well, there's 10
Isn't that
spaces.
why it's there?
There's 10 spaces on the
Oh, I see what
access
you're saying.
road.
So leaving on both sides, but having not all those ones along the side.
Yeah, I just think that's an overabundance of
I see.
10
Okay.
spaces. That would be accessing the overlook for the waterfall versus the access from Route 17. So
Well,
and then
it does have a trail though. I mean, it's not like super unreasonable to think, well, yeah, that a few cars would be there at a time.
well, it's just
If you
10
think-
spaces.
yeah.
That's more spaces
Yeah.
than the actual Route 7 access, but So,
Yeah.
but, some things of that nature, and then I just think the legend needs to be cleaned up a little bit. There's a few other things, but that bituminous concrete. I mean, I know Aiden, I felt pretty strongly that should be as natural an aggregate as possible versus fossil fuel type of um, uh, uh, mix. So anyhow,
I'm sorry, Jenna, you mean at Sycamore Park?
all of them, when the walkway, the darkened walkway is all labeled as bituminous concrete.
I have a quick question. What, to Helen's point about the email that was sent out, what is the latest, like, what's the title of that email? I think the last thing I have is January 9th.
We have the one from Kristen where she
Kristen
has
just
the
sent it
homework.
today.
Yeah. I'll find it. It says February 13th draft agenda, and then Kristen replied saying, "Hi, I'll move a couple of homework items to the top with some links."
Okay,
And
okay,
it's it.
okay.
So it looks to me, Jonah, like the Sycamore path. So I mean, there's a lot of pictures of the plan because it shows the preliminary ones, and then revised and then final. And it
Yeah.
looks to me like at Sycamore, they
A mix.
Yeah,
The
they
main-
only have gravel, grass grid, and dirt.
Mhm. I think it's just gravel.
Yeah, they have a paved driveway or parking lot, but
Yeah,
but other than that, it's just gravel.
because
We
what I
were very
noticed,
worried.
what I noticed is they tried to capture the evolution of our discussions, right? And so they have the initial design. They say in there that we heard we don't want bituminous pavement, and so the final design is all natural.
And I think that actually also addresses the parking spaces at Memorial because the like 10 spaces along the side, that's the preliminary, and then the final has 3. Oh, well, yeah, 3, and then across the street some more.
The only thing that I would add is that these are concept sketches and that this RFP was about dreaming. The RFP was, can you imagine a possibility where we could have greater access, more accessible recreation on these existing spaces? So this is not something that the select board's going to approve and then build. This is something that they say, thank you for dreaming. It's great that now we have some ideas that we could pursue in the event that we were going to pursue it. I anticipate that what will probably happen is they will not pursue it, but that interested parties in the community who think this is important might look for grant money to pursue this in a phased way and present, if said money is found, that opportunity to the town, which may or may not choose to pursue that at that time. Because I think that we all recognize that a really big component of this would be ongoing cost of maintenance. So there's that tension and that balance between making town-owned parcels available to the community in an inclusive way, protecting the natural resources that we have, and being realistic about what this little community can afford. And I think that this was a great exercise, and I do hope that there will be a time in the future when Bristol will be able to move ahead with this. But that would absolutely be the time to get into the weeds about how many parking places. I don't think you guys need to have us, like, make your suggestions, absolutely,
Yeah,
but
that's great
I wouldn't worry
perspective.
about it too much at this point.
Thank you for that
Okay.
perspective. That's helpful. Yeah.
And the only thing, I partly wanted to stay for this because I haven't heard anything. So I was like, did he die? Like what's happened? So it's, but I asked him lately, like, what's going on? And he hasn't made a presentation to the select board yet. Maybe he was waiting for feedback from you guys. Maybe it was because we don't have a town administrator. Maybe it was because the select board's been busy with budget stuff. I don't know. He has floated the idea of having something at town meeting So I think that he likes the idea of having this available, maybe having a QR code where people can weigh in, because part of the RFP required that they do as much community engagement as possible to be like, what do people even want? What do people care about? How do they feel about these ideas? So I think he's gonna try to have something, at least a QR code and maybe a sample of the draft document, but maybe not if he hasn't shared it with the select board yet, I don't know.
Okay.
Cool, that's helpful, thank you. Any other thoughts about this? Do people have comments they want to make about anything that we want to pass along? Do you feel like you want to send individual comments? Do we feel like we've already commented on this for several rounds?
I think Porter's feedback right now is really valuable,
Definitely.
that this is a proposal and we really shouldn't be splitting hairs over details.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Mhm.
Okay, do we agree? Do you want to move on then? Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for that perspective. That's really helpful. Okay, Lincoln Conservation Commission's recent project discussion.
Yes.
That was a
that's-
Helen ad. She said you wanted 2 minutes. You can have a few minutes though.
Yep. I
Helen.
went to
Thank you, Porter.
I went to a meeting at Lincoln Library last month that was sponsored by the Lincoln Conservation Commission. Should I wait? I can see that not everybody's.
Carolyn left for a minute, but everyone else is here.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Sponsored by the Lincoln Conservation Commission about natural burial. And it was an amazing presentation by an established natural burial ground in Roxbury. And the underlying mission by the Conservation Commission in Lincoln was to explore interest in natural burial grounds among Lincolnites. And apparently they have been asked, I think by their select board, it wasn't clear to me, asked by whom, to examine all the town-owned land in Lincoln to explore the ideas of natural burial grounds in Lincoln. This meeting was really well attended. The library was completely full and there were lots of Bristolians there asking lots of questions. And it made me wonder if we, being the parallel association with the Lincoln Conservation Commission, if we would either want to take it upon ourselves or present to the select board, if anyone is interested in exploring the idea of natural burial grounds in Bristol. So that's it. It was just a meeting I went to that piqued my interest. I'm among a handful of older Bristol residents who would really appreciate the comfort of knowing that there are forested areas where we could be buried, but currently nothing like that exists.
I think this is becoming more and more of a thing in communities too. It's definitely a popular idea at the moment.
Right. And so might we be tasked with the same thing the Lincoln Conservation Commission, of just looking at town-owned properties and where those natural burial grounds could exist. That's all. I'm leaving the commission as of next month, so I will not take this on as my job on the commission. If I had stayed on the commission, I think I would explore this and write proposals and do all that kind of stuff. So I'm just presenting it as an idea that others might find interesting, and it will be in the minutes so that anyone who reads these minutes from the town will know that we're at least aware that there's interest in natural burial grounds, but don't have any leadership to take us to the next step.
So did the Lincoln Select Board Committee set aside town land for this, or it was just the discussion, the initial?
It's just a discussion, right. Yeah.
Is that a thing? Like I thought it was all private, cemeteries and things. Like, do towns set aside land for burial?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
There I would just mention that our past conservation member, Katie Riley, had a natural burial in the Vermont Forest Cemetery located in
Roxbury.
Roxbury.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
who-
and so
That's
that
owned-
would be an example.
yes.
that's owned by the state forestry or whatever, like who?
Well, I think the Vermont Natural Burial Association bought that land for the purpose of being a natural burial ground. I don't think it was town owned, but
Yeah, I see that kind of connection, that separation there, right? Of saying, okay, this organization and the town saying, okay, cool, we're saying as the conservation committee, we think this is a good area of land that is well suited for this. But then another organization, volunteer or whatever, comes in and says, okay, cool, we're gonna carve this out and take the liability and the ownership and the business aspect uh, out
Yeah.
of the town's hands, you know?
yeah, no, that's a good point. And the Roxbury one is, as far as I know, is private, and it's an organization that run it, and it's not dictated what happens on that land by the town itself. So you're right, it's sort of a separation. I do know that some towns residents who are interested in natural burial but haven't figured out a way to make this happen are talking to local cemetery associations about land that surrounds existing cemeteries.
Yeah.
Cemeteries themselves are flat and full of tombstones but if they have natural borders that are owned by the cemetery association, could those be used? So as a one option of a way to explore natural burial ground within a existing framework.
Yeah. So my wife used to work at a Jewish mortuary funeral home. And so by like religion, a lot of them do by default natural burial, right? Pine casket, no formaldehyde, all that kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
So I have a little bit of insight into that.
Amazing. Interesting.
What was the name of the town where Katie Riley,
Roxbury.
Roxbury.
Roxbury? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you, Helen. That's really
Yeah, it's a really
interesting idea, yeah. Thank you so much for your time and for thinking of that. I wouldn't have ever thought of that. Let's see, next we have NOMO May. I'm gonna just table that because Aiden was the one who was gonna talk to us about it. He's not here. So
Oh,
we'll
but I
table
want to
that.
say something
Oh,
about
you
that.
have something? Oh, never mind.
I do.
I'll untable it. What do you want to say about it?
On April 8th, Emily
Okay.
May, who works for the Xerces Society, is giving a presentation in Middlebury at the Congregational Church called Less Lawn, More Life. So it's about turning your lawn into something biodiverse and supporting life. So I wondered, so one, that is basically a side shoot of No Mow May, of just stop making your front yard into a lawn and turn it into something diverse. We talked about at an earlier meeting, educational things that we can be doing. This would be one. So I'm going to put this in the minutes so anybody who reads this knows about a presentation on April 8th at the Congregational Church on changing lawns into something that's more biodiverse by a entomologist.
Cool. That's great. Thank you. Okay, anyone else on that? Okay, I'll do Green Up Day. I started organizing Green Up Day. I talked to the school. I talked to the Addison County Regional Waste Management people. So that's all set up. I talked to Kate in Montpelier who runs Green Up Day. So that's all just chunking along. The school, Bristol Elementary School, always helps out. I tried to ask for, I forgot if it was like stickers or pencils, or I tried to get prizes for every single kid in the school this year. We'll see if they approve the request. So I'm trying because they try every year and it's really good to get them involved young, and then they know about it and hopefully they like it, or at least know about it when they're older. So I think that's really important, like kind of a training ground. So I'm working with the school to get that message out, and we're trying to get some extra prizes for those kids because they do it every year for us. And that's it. Just lots of paperwork at this point. And then educational outreach, continued discussion.
I sent an email like 2 days ago because I forgot about it until 2 days ago. So let you know when I get one back.
This sounds great.
Yeah.
Maybe we could also think about who is this person giving the talk on April 8th and see
Yeah.
if they want to do a Bristol version
Mm-hmm.
in May. Well, it's already May, in April, or we could just send out front porch forums to tell people to go to it or something too.
I think
Yeah.
we should do the
Yeah.
latter. Having her give the same presentation 2 towns apart, a month apart, is not the best use of her time.
But yeah, maybe we could.
Yeah,
We
advertise
can
it.
also try to get her next year too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We could go to it,
Um,
see if it's useful for Bristol as well, and then maybe
Yeah,
like see. if
I
we
already
can-
wrote it down. I totally. wanna
She's
go.
on it, she's on it.
I just want to
Alright.
go for my own self.
You can
It's
just carry on
sponsored,
first.
her talk is sponsored by Pollinator Pathways,
Oh,
which
nice.
I wonder-
has
I
a
wonder if
great
maybe-
seminar
yeah.
series. So yeah, we should
Yeah.
just pump people into that.
Mhm.
Cool. All right, well, they'll keep us posted.
Will do.
Sounds great. Website updates. I was going to update the website, but then I realized it is our annual meeting next meeting, and I thought, let's just wait and do all the updates at once. So it's gonna be not happening this month, but it'll happen next. Just like the names of who's doing things. We gotta get the new annual report up there, things like that. So I thought, well, annual, it's happening early. The way it falls, we have a meeting in March for the annual meeting, so I might as well do it then. So today that means it is Helen's last meeting, I believe, because next meeting is, I mean, of course you can come as a member of the public and would love to hear what Helen says, but I think you're retiring as of the end of this meeting. Is that correct?
Wow, I assumed I was coming in March, but
Oh,
I don't.
you're free to
you know,
come. You're free to come.
I was gonna make sure someone else was going to be taking minutes because I don't want to be doing minutes after March when I'm no longer a board member.
Definitely, definitely. And I actually have a note on there to mention when I talk about the website to also mention, we'll need a new clerk. Someone's gonna have to think about that. And in fact, we can have all the positions, the chair, the vice chair, the clerk. We could start a treasurer for LA Care. We just need to think about how people want to be involved for the next year. And the chance to do that is in our next meeting at March 13th on that Thursday. So just keep that in your mind that you might think about volunteering to help out with one of those positions. That's good. Oh, and that Aiden has already said he would take Helen's vacant seat, but of
Great.
course, Helen's always welcome at the table, as are all our BCC alum, including Ken Johnson, who was just here today, which was fun to see him again.
I also realized that I think we put the cart before the horse in saying, oh, Aiden can take Helen's place, because there's a process that has to take place. And it seems to me that we have to advertise that there's an opening. And if there's more than one person interested, have them all interviewed by the select board. I don't think it's a.
Well, no, because Helen, he already came when he tried to take the spot that Noelle jumped into, and
Oh.
Valerie put Noelle into that spot because she said that she was already on the commission. So we have paperwork for Aiden as well.
Okay.
So it's a little bit, that actually got kind of messy with the paperwork when that happened, because Noelle had been a member who had stepped back. So it was a little bit of miscommunication where he wanted a spot at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Totally. No, yeah. He still has to fill out the volunteer form. The select board has to approve him. But Valerie was on board with that, although Valerie's not here anymore. So the interim person can take care of that.
And is Noelle still a member?
As far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's 3 consecutive meetings before we say that someone's resigned, and that is not the case. She was at the last meeting, I believe. So yeah. Okay, and that's it. So that's our website updates, which are really membership updates at the same time. No upcoming events between now and March. We have a little bit of homework we planned. I'm going to send out some documents for some more conversations. And then our next meeting will be on the 13th, which is the same as today, because that's how February and March work. And we'll see you all next time. If anyone wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Does anyone like to adjourn? Anyone else make a motion to adjourn?
I will second that motion.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. I'll see you next month. Goodbye.
Hiya.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thank you.